day. Good day, everyone here at Motorama. This is your host, James Jordan.
Mike Wallace.
And the American, Damon Sawyer.
Coming at you for yet another edition of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast, as I mentioned here at Motorama. Yeah,
That was fake.
Also on the FM dial on CFMH 107.3 in local FM in St. John, New Brunswick.
Hello.
As well as on the Performance Motorsports Network app on your smart device. You can also check us out on demand wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify we prefer Spotify. We're fans of Spotify. Apple Podcasts.
Boo.
There's a few other places that you can also check us out as well online. Social media, we're active on it. Instagram, Wallace is on the Reels.
I'm Instagram.
He is on the Reels on Instagram.
Kind of.
At the WWOMS, as well as Facebook and X, formerly known as Twitter. We still call it Twitter. So you can also check us out on our website at www.thewideworldofmotorsportspodcast.wordpress.com. You can find out how you can join us and you can come on board with the Wide World of Motorsports. This is Season 7, Episode 10. Very special one. As we mentioned yesterday, our first live show on stage. On stage.
Yeah, it's pretty a little nerve-wracking because we're pretty rough around the edges sometimes, and there's a lot of beeps and edits that Jordan has to do on the podcast once in a while. But
it's fun to edit. Yeah, it's fun to edit Wallace. So this is really awesome. Thanks again for everyone coming out, spending your hard-earned cash, coming far, and also the people at Motorama putting it together, Bryce and all the folks, the high-ups at Motorama.
Thank you for listening. Yeah, we know you have no choice.
Yeah, it's awesome. As someone, I've been involved in radio since the late 2000s, and we've been able to put this podcast together for the past few years, and it's, at this point, this is really awesome. A whirlwind of excitement the last couple of days. So
that's one way to put it.
Yeah, yesterday was awesome. We had some fun on the slot car track. Adam Ross came by and called the race between us podcasters.
Adam Ross.
Brandon Feeney was the winner. We were not very good.
He won everything yesterday. He won that. He won the pit stop challenge.
The pit stop challenge that we did. That'll all be up on our social medias, as well as I'm sure we'll put that, hopefully at Motorama we'll put that video together and post that up, because that was an exciting race.
Well, we had cameraman Bryce there too, so that was awesome.
A couple of shout-outs here at the top of the show as well. We were talking to Pops over here at the Sauble Speedway tent, and just want to make sure y'all go over there, talk to him about the fundraiser for the Cancer Society in South Bruce. Just ask Pop at the Sauble booth for more about that. They're doing some cool raffles and donations this season. So, and also some stuff with Epic Racewear as well. So that's
yeah, they're donating all their race winnings in the 81 for the season to this program.
That's super cool, and it helps a lot of people out.
Yeah,
everyone wins. So something like that, it's more than motorsports sometimes here on the WOMS. And what a show today we got. We're gonna get to Dan Bailey of Epic Racewear here in a few minutes, and Dave White and Jamie, the GM of White Motorsports, a little later on. But real couple minutes here on this weekend in the Wide World of Motorsports. What do you got, Damon?
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't want spoilers of races that have happened so far this weekend, please close your ears.
Or just come here, because that's what the WOM's for.
Yeah, or just enjoy the spoilers. So to kind of catch up on racing of this weekend, so starting Friday night, William Swalich won the rain-shortened race, the ARCA race in Phoenix. Crazy to think that they had rain down there in the desert. But so he won the race, and Greg Van Alst with his 13th place result is actually leading the points in the ARCA series, the national series, after 2 races. Yesterday, a lot of racing going on both in Phoenix and in St. Petersburg. It was Joseph Newgarden winning the pole for the IndyCar race today, and a very surprise outside pole sitter. It was the Felix Rosenquist in his first ride for Meyer-Shank.
Wow, that's pretty impressive, actually.
He had a great practice, and then he had a great qualifying. So,
he's a good driver. I mean,
yeah.
He's got a chance to really contend for a championship, I think.
Yeah, after seeing the struggles of Meyer-Shank the last couple of years, it's going to be interesting to see if they can hold this form going forward. Also, in 5th place in the Juncos Hollander car was the Phoenix Romain Grosjean. So that was also another big surprise.
Yeah.
To see that.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the Xfinity race Cole Custer won the pole, and it looked like Justin Allgaier was going to take the win. Then he had a tire issue the last couple laps, wrecked. Chandler Smith took the lead and held on, and so he is now locked into the playoffs for the Xfinity Series. 3 races back, I should say, is Joe Gibbs. He said Joe Gibbs was his home. He feels more comfortable there, and he's already pulled off a win. So that's not entirely surprising to see, but I'm sure it's got to make him feel better that he's, got that monkey off his back and is right back in victory lane. As for the Cup Series, Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs have the pole and outside pole for the Cup race. So
exciting.
His 3rd career pole at Phoenix, and just to think that he got his very first pole there in the fall of 2005.
Yeah,
he's an old man.
So
he's one of the vets for
he's
sure.
He's a veteran. Sorry, veteran.
And it's interesting to see that Toyotas are 4 of the first 6 starters in the race. There was an article that came out earlier this week. So ever since the finale for the season went to Phoenix, Toyota has not won that race. So they've not won a championship since it moved from Homestead. And TRD Motorsports had mentioned that they've been very disappointed and upset that they have not been able to conquer Phoenix. So they put a lot of effort into their short track package to focus on Phoenix. So it's already paying off with them with 4 in the top 6. So there's still a race to be run to see how they do it, but they're off to a really good start.
Real quick before we get on to Dan here, predictions for who's going to win IndyCar and Cup.
I'm going to go with Newgarden for IndyCar. I think he's going to run away with it. As for Cup, that's tough. I had
Josh
said,
Berry?
No, not Josh Berry. Last week I had said Tyler Reddick. And he almost pulled it out. He's starting 6th, I believe. I'm going to go with him again. I'm just going to keep going with him because he's going to win at some point. So I'm just going to keep going with Tyler Reddick.
IndyCar, I feel like Scott McLaughlin's probably going to win this. St. Pete seems to be a track that he really, really excels at. I know he's not on pole or on the outside, but there's still a whole lot of race to happen in strategy, different tire compounds. As for Cup, I feel like a Toyota. I mean, could this be a breakout win for Ty Gibbs? It's possible. It's really possible. Will it be Denny's win to get him up, like lock him into the playoffs? Because it seems like he should have been locked in already by
Carson
now.
with
the
that
way
P10. I don't know if he'll have what it takes to win, but he's definitely
that'll
showing
be a team
improvement.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Too.
So we'll see all of that. We'll have all that and more on our social medias at the WWOMS, as well as the next couple of episodes of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.
And real quick, so it really goes without saying, but in case you didn't catch it, Max Verstappen won the Formula One race in Saudi Arabia. Sergio Perez was 2nd, Charles Leclerc 3rd, and a great debut by Ollie Behrman in 7th.
Yeah, that's amazing, actually. That's an incredible drive for that young driver. 18.
And to also mention, we'll have more F1 stuff as well on the shows up to come. We got to mention Eggman, one of our other hosts,
He's
the
right
other
here.
American. He's here with us in spirit. He is our F1 guy, and we'll have that in the weeks to come here on the Wide World of Motorsports. We got some epic guests up for y'all here on the show. We got Dan Bailey.
Yes, we have Dan Bailey from
Racewear.
Epic Racewear. Thanks, Dan. There you go. Just sit down and join us here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your time with me, guys.
Well, thanks for coming on
Anytime.
stage. Dan is one of the owner-operator of Epic Racewear. People see your logo everywhere, but might not actually really understand what it is you provide. We're going to get into that, but business in racing starts with a love of racing. How did you get into racing?
I've been at the racetrack since I've been 5 years old. My parents worked at Sauble Speedway from the time it turned to an asphalt track right up until the early 90s. Then from there, they moved on. They were done. The ownership changed. I stayed around for another 4 or 5 years. Then was separated from racing because I got married, and we
happens.
started a family. Then marriage changed and racing came back. So so you win at the end anyway.
Yes, that's interesting. So when you say you were at Sauble, like what do you mean by that? What were you involved in there?
we were close family friends with the Bennetts. My parents were in their wedding party, so it, the racetrack starts as a family business. Most racetracks are family businesses, and we developed that track from an archaic, no wall, dirt track, wooden stands, just an entry-level track. It's still an entry-level track, but it's a beautiful facility. We were a part of every bit of that development up until, and it's developing every day. I'm not saying anything that isn't true, but we physically labored and put the stands in. We built both towers. We were a part of building the cement wall, pouring the pads in the pits, the asphalt, everything. We picked the garbage in the morning. We cut the lawn. We did everything for that racetrack.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah. I don't believe I remember the adults doing nearly as much work as us children were doing. That's probably a distorted perception, but
Maybe a little bit.
it was a great life, anyways. And you develop a passion for it. When I was a kid, we would play road hockey on the front stretch with the likes of Kerry Mix and Scott Steckley, Jason
Whoa,
Shaw.
some big names.
Some of the keynote names that we hear of today. Now their kids are racing. Kyle Steckley. Anybody heard of him? Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yep.
Maybe. Did
Dale
he drive
Shaw.
a 22 car?
Yeah. It might be blue.
Might be.
Yeah, blue and white, anyways. but large names in the industry, and we were just friends. These guys were running basically arrive and drive programs, and where are they now? They've continued racing, and what I found was interesting and almost disappointing in a sense is that after I'd left racing after being there for 20 years, when I came back, it was still basically only the same families that were the core foundation of racing, right?
Right.
The Zardos have been there forever.
Yes.
The Shepherds are Zardo family as well, but it's the same foundation with fringe additions.
Right.
So that
We're
goes to
pretty fringe.
show you how strong of a passion racing develops, right?
Yeah.
It's once it's in your blood, it's in your blood, and your kids can't get away with it. I didn't race, but here I am. I'm still not racing, but it's my everyday.
Yes, we've talked about this a lot on the show, and I, the one thing that's been constant in my life has been racing. Like through all the ups and downs, it's always been racing. I'm sure you guys can agree that there's been some things like that.
Oh yeah, grew up since the late '90s. My dad, watching with my dad, and still to this day, being able to take him to races, and you take your family to races to this day, and you continue that tradition. That's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same with me. That's all I was on the house weekends was racing and football, and that's still how it is. To
No
this
crab
day.
cakes?
No.
Anyways, so let's talk about Epic and like where did that come from? It seems like a very niche market.
Yeah.
So success is probably hard fought. So, but where did it start from?
It started as I came back into racing. My first step back into racing was to hit the Waterloo Car Club and get into racing with my kids. My brother was racing there. He had raced for a few years. And then when I found I had some more free time, I said, you know what? I'm going to take my son, myself, we're going to go buy a cart and see what we can do. So we tooled around racing, and we had a large auction company, still do, and I looked after all of the marketing and development for that. When I was in the pits at Flamborough Speedway as a go-karter, I saw a lack of marketing, and I thought, there's an opportunity. Something, I could maybe pay for my habit if I did something. So we started, and we initially
Sounds like a drug addiction.
Yeah, racing. We bought into an American company, and we started out with tents and sublimated go-karting suits, and it just blossomed from there. It was about 2 years after that we parted ways with the American company and decided that we'd do something on our own. We're still good business partners and friends. It wasn't a hostile separation or anything. But we went on our own, and then we were introduced to the fine folks at Oswego Speedway. Greg Callanan was our first introduction. we had an opening, an opportunity there that scared the pants off of me because I had dreams and ambitions, but I didn't know if I had the means to do it. But I said, yeah, let's do this. And we started into a multi-year deal with them. And then my plan was, they run Friday nights. This is perfect because I could go to Oswego Friday night, go play in the go-kart Saturday morning, then stay at Flamborough Saturday night. I've got all my racing, I've covered in 2 days. I can still be home at Sunday.
So
and
watch a cup race.
maybe go home without spending more than I go home with for a change.
Yep.
And so anyways, that's how we got started, and it developed from there. The connections that we were able to make through some of our partners have just been awesome.
So let's get into what Epic provides for racers. What thing, where do we start?
Exactly.
Really?
There isn't anything that we don't provide. Because I did start in marketing and branding, I see the whole picture, right? I didn't just work on fire suits. I saw the entire brand package. As I said, we actually started primarily with tents. We went from tents to a branded race suit. But yeah, there's not anything that we don't provide for the racer from head to toe. Hard parts, including helmets and Hans devices, your fire suit, your glove, Nomex underwear, shoes, belts. It doesn't stop there. Of course, the pit decor, right? Your tents, flags. Then we deal with many tracks and associations, so we do their crew shirts, banners on the wall. We provide race tracks with souvenirs, all of their apparel, hats, T-shirts. How long do you have?
Not that long. We got an hour.
Yeah.
So everything, and it's not just safety gear that you're providing to teams. There's a whole multitude of other things, promotional things. We were talking about like branded sunglasses, and koozies, and whatever.
And where we fit well into the racing industry is that every racer, every track, every association has other partners.
Right.
We are able to service those other partners for their business needs as well. We print business cards. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter what you do, we can help you out. And that is why, in part, you'll see our name everywhere, because not everybody needs a fire suit.
Right.
But most businesses need something that we have.
Speaking of something you have, I imagine you provide gloves to drivers. So speaking of gloves for a moment, recently there was a little kerfuffle in the NASCAR Cup Series with Joey Logano's webbed gloves. And there was a hot debate about the safety of web gloves or like modifications to safety equipment. And there's still a lot of confusion over exactly what was wrong with his gloves.
Yeah.
So to my understanding, it was a twofold issue. First of all, it was a modified piece of safety equipment. It wasn't like it came from the factory webbed. It was sewed on. And then separately, web gloves in general, from what I understand, are just not allowed. Can you go into, have you ever gotten a request for web gloves? Or is that like a universal like safety issue? Because it makes sense of why you would want the web glove for blocking that. Though a lot of like sports car series, they don't have open windows, so it'd only be for an open window series. But can you maybe explain why a web glove would be illegal, and like even if it was like made of Nomex, would like that still be a fire hazard, and maybe what's like the most outrageous request you've ever received from a team?
As far as the gloves concerned, you hit the nail on the head. The main thing is that it was not approved. It's a modified SFI product. They have to approve each and every model of suit you have. They have to approve each and every modification you have. So anything that you see on a fire suit, a certified fire suit, has been approved by SFI or should have been approved by SFI. Now, the folks at NASCAR are well tuned in what's regulated and what's not. So they're easily able to pick something like that off. That webbed gloves do pose a safety hazard just for the additional catching, snagging features, stuff like that. But I'm not an SFI personnel. Maybe someday they would approve that, but it would have to go to them prior to modify it afterwards. It doesn't matter what they didn't penalize them necessarily for an advantage. It was a modified product,
That's,
right?
I think that's one of the big misconceptions is they think he got in trouble because he tried to be genius, and
Right.
no, he got in trouble because he broke a rule. And I mean, I think of all the rules, safety is uncompromisable.
It's incredible for some strange reason. That is the first place people trim their budget. Safety gear.
Yeah, my dad.
You know,
My dad would see guys roll into the tech shed. He had one guy roll into the tech shed at Barrie Speedway, and he used exhaust tubing for roll cage.
yeah. That's cool.
Right? Yeah.
You know, and we see it everywhere, and safety gear is something that you don't need until you need it, and then it's man, I should have had that, or it's over. You know what I mean? And I don't know why people do that. It's all about budgeting, but trim your budget somewhere else, or find partners. Come see us. We'll make sure that we can make a budget-friendly option for you. We care about everybody's program, right? I mean, we do work with many clients that don't have a budget, and you can see them on the track, and you would think that they have a large budget. You know,
Right.
now, you'd mentioned strangest request. It was actually from Angela Rook. She was driving in the NASCAR. It was Camping World trucks at that time, and she's very concerned about her feminine look. So she wanted her gloves, because we can custom print gloves. She wanted her gloves to look like her hands with her fingernails done, and she wanted her shoes to look like high heel shoes. And
Nice. Hey, it's good marketing.
I just said no.
Oh. Why?
It just didn't strike home with me. I didn't.
It didn't
love
feel
it.
epic.
No, it didn't. And the gloves wasn't an issue, but the shoes, I didn't know how that was going to be actually possible. They would be printed shoes. I didn't think that she would actually be happy with the result. So,
Right.
It wasn't a no entirely because I didn't like the image. It was a no because I don't think it's going to come off the way you want it to.
Yeah, it's better to just say no to something than say yes and not be able to figure out how to do it.
Yes,
Right.
for sure.
So what has been a safety innovation feature request that you get a lot now that just never existed 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago?
Primarily, I think it's the driver comfort issue. 10, 15, 20 years ago, for sure, every driver wore basically coveralls. You know, I mean, they were still SFI approved fireproof coveralls, but they were just standard straight leg, you know, small, medium, large. That's what you get. With a custom fitting, you know, we have guys that want a lot more stretch gusset in the sides, or a lot less, or now we have cell phone pockets versus regular pockets, you know, or we have different
Don't
collar
text and
stuff.
race.
Yeah, and it's just a customization and the focus on driver comfort. You know, we jokingly say, but it's relatively true. If your fire suit is comfortable, you're faster. Right, so we say epic fire suits are fast, you know, because if you're comfortable, you can focus on what needs to be focused on. You're not going down the straightaway trying to fix this. You're hitting your marks.
Right. So on the lines of like SFI stuff, another big hot topic in Ontario, anyways, has been these safety belts from Princess Auto.
Yeah.
What's an issue with a belt like that?
Well, again, it's a non-conforming issue. So SFI has a large number of requirements for every product that's out there. A lot of it has to do with labeling. And the reason labeling is important is because it creates accountability for the manufacturer, right? So the belts at at Princess Auto could very well be made to the standards of SFI. Their composition could be 100% fine, but they're non-conforming because there is not a label on there that clearly identifies who the manufacturer was. And so non-conforming, they got to take it off because we don't know who made it. So are they holding the standards to the regulation?
It's all about accountability.
Right. And we see that now with so many off-brand fire suits and uniforms as well. SFI is cracking down hard on that. We met with them at PRI this year, and that's what the entire meeting was about. Just how are we going to make sure that our drivers are safe? Ultimately, that's all we care from. I have a saying: you can buy your gas from wherever you like. That's not the issue. The issue is safety. We need to have safety involved. As a business owner, I get disappointed and upset because we have newcomers. I call them fly by night, whatever it might be, but their non-conforming products cost me a lot of money to be a part of the program and be conforming, send my products away and get it tested, do this. We modify one thing, we got to send it in, get it tested, get it approved. And then these guys come up and save you $50 or $100. And of course, our budget-friendly racers is like, man, I want that suit because it's $100 cheaper.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's going to change.
I think an interesting or an important thing to say about safety in motorsports is like when even you have a satire series like the 24 Hours of Lemons, like they stress safety. Like bring your junkiest car, but make sure you've got the perfect roll cage and all your safety equipment. When they're focused on safety, like what does that say about the rest of the series?
That's right. There's nothing that can be. You can't cut corners on safety. I mean, we've all seen it. We've seen the horror stories, and a lot of the times, anytime anybody gets hurt, it's from a lapse of judgment and error in safety. We all remember Kyle Larson's first trip on Daytona, where his motor was in the crowd.
Yeah.
He was fine. What does NASCAR focus on all the time? We have the introduction of the safer barriers since we lost Dale Earnhardt, right? Like it's safety.
So one of the reasons also we wanted to get you on stage with us is we kind of got a bit of an announcement to make. We've been in contact with Epic Racewear and Dan for a little bit, and we've kind of come to an agreement on a partnership. We're gonna rep his drivers and take photos and get a little more exposure on social media for Dan, and that's amazing to us. We really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I'm glad. I'm excited. We've recently been in development for a new website for the past. We're 10 years old already. It's hard to believe that, but for the past 10 years, I've been pounding the pavement. Old school manual orders. See you at the track. That's the way things go. Unfortunately, we've gotten to the size now where I need some digital help.
Right.
We have a simple Facebook page, and people think I travel the world and I have the easiest life in the world. Oh, it's fantastic. And, but I'm just sharing those posts, and that's fantastic. But you guys will be able to do so much more for me and gain some traction out of that. Other than folks saying, "Oh, it must be nice. You're here. You're there. You're here."
Right.
You know what? We all think the Cup drivers, and I'm not a Formula One guy, so I can't speak to that end. But the Cup drivers and the NASCAR drivers, they have a great life, right?
Yeah.
It is one treacherous slug. It is. It is. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Well, can't thank you, Dan, enough for coming on stage with us for looking at us as a good representation for you and a partner. It means a lot to us, and thanks for coming on stage.
Appreciate
no
you.
problem. I appreciate it. I'm going to make use of your services tons.
Vice versa.
Yeah, that's great.
We're so happy to be on board with you.
Perfect. I look forward to it, guys. It's going to be awesome. And again, thank you for having me here. And it's been a great show. I'm sure anybody who's counting foot traffic lost count a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I heard stories of traffic backed up to the airport and people parking nearly miles away.
Yep.
So fantastic job by the host of Motorama.
Yeah,
for
100%.
Sure. And good job. Good
Dave
job.
Bailey, everyone,
Everybody.
Epic Racewear.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was awesome, Wallace. We got, and Damon, of course. Thank you for everyone who's joining us here at Motorama, the Wide World of Motorsports podcast. You can find us on social media at the WWOMS, on the FM, on Saturdays in St. John, New Brunswick, on CFMH 107.3 local FM, as well as on the Performance Motorsports Network and on demand wherever you get your podcasts. We were just talking to Dan Bailey of Epic Raceware. We got about 13 or so minutes left, so we'll try to get in some time here with Dave White and Jamie, the GM of White Motorsports, and then we'll have a couple of minutes for all y'all before we send it off here at Motorama.
So, like Jordan said, we have Jamie. What's your last name, Jamie? I'm sorry. Dyson. Oh, Jamie Dyson and Dave White of White Motorsports. So this is actually a pretty big deal for me. Since I've really been into the NASCAR Canada Series, I've noticed Dave's products, and I've kind of been a fan of Dave for a little bit. I admit that I geek out on the technology of the cars, so and there's a whole aspect there that just a lot of people don't always see. In particular, I think a lot of people see WMI. They see that you're running a team, like a race team in the NASCAR Canada Series and whatnot. But you guys do so much more. Do you think? Can you talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that you're involved in?
Yeah, absolutely. So, from the start, we've been a chassis manufacturer, car builder, right from tubing on a rack to turnkey driving cars, pick them up like that. And that's our main and our priority in business is that, and part sales and customer service and at-track services and all that. And then with the NASCAR Penny Series, there was a point where there were so many drivers and teams looking to race but didn't have anywhere to go. We were just set up shop-wise, people-wise. We were able to make it happen. We had race car haulers, so we were able to make it happen to help the growth of the series and help the series, survive and thrive and do better.
Yeah.
So that's what we were trying to do.
Nice.
So again, now that's not our priority in business. Our priority in business is to build cars, look after customers, and do that kind of stuff. So that's where we're at and where we're continuing to do. So that's where we're moving forward. That's our main focus.
So we spoke earlier, and you've never been a driver. So what was your avenue into racing? How did you get into the mechanic side of it, into the building, the fabrication? Where did that come from?
Well, I always was into cars. I just wasn't into doing oil changes on cars all the time and stuff like that. So
yeah, fair enough.
And I was always into fabricating, and I was always in engineering. So then I always liked racing. So then when I was about 12, I kind of put it all together and then just kind of lived, breathed, ate, and slept it. That's all I did. I didn't really, my teen years was just in race shops 24/7, and I went with at that point DJ Kennington was Hooters Pro Cup Racing, so
nice. Yeah,
we were going all over living in bunks of big trucks and going all over the U.S. racing, and then I just never left it from there, and then incorporated my own business when we started at my house garage at home, and then now we've since then moved 3 times, and now we're in like a 25,000 square foot facility. So we got general managers and parts people and fabricators, and we got a staff of about 14 in the summer. So and like I say, we got tons of parts in stock, and anything we don't have in stock we can usually get within a day. So the part stuff's really doing well too. So no, we're very fortunate.
that's awesome. So we're going to get to Jamie in just a second because he's going to be involved in this next question. You may be the namesake, but you're still the fabricator. You're still building in the shop. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So I still, to this day, I still weld every car together. So everyone.
Wow.
Yeah. Everyone that we built, excuse me, everyone that we built, I still weld together, And then we have a bit of a production line where they go chassis, off the jig, to finish fab, to sheet metal, to body, to powder coat, to assembly. So we have people in every division that do that, and a couple people on each side. So it's kind of like production line going all the time. And then my general manager, Jamie, he makes it so I can, as we call it, I can go out and build speed and make cars faster yet.
Jamie, how did you get in the role of GM at White Motorsports?
Well, one day David White gave me a phone call. I was in another position at another company, and he said, I'd like to bring you over to do parts, and we come together in a good agreement, and
Nice.
away we went. And so I've been there almost a year now, coming
Right.
up on that, and started off as being David's parts guy to evolving to doing more business side, and very recently becoming the general manager.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, it's great too to see. I'm sure you guys know each other from the racetrack, from growing up. What are some of the challenges that you find in this current era, this current market of everybody's pinching pennies? Racing's not getting cheaper. What are some of the biggest challenges that you're hitting right now, and some of the challenges you might foresee?
Yeah, I mean, racing yesterday, tomorrow, and in the future is going to be about penny pinching and trying to use every dollar possible to make your car as good as possible. So we try to do everything we can to make sure the sport stays healthy and make sure that everybody can get on the track with the best possible equipment with the dollar they're able to spend. Some of the challenges we have right now, honestly, since COVID, and it still is a problem, is finding proper stock on products. Like there's still companies that are having challenges getting raw materials to build product. So that is a bit of a hindrance when we're building some cars, but we make it work and we figure out. And if we can't get exactly what we need, we find the next best thing. And sometimes we can get everything we need, and sometimes we can't. So, we continue to do that, and we continue to keep the racer in mind and make sure that racers are well taken care of and they're able to get on the track, and we can get as many cars on track as possible.
Yeah, and just kind of a continuation of that, a question would be, do you guys have any manufacturer alliances? Like, is there one manufacturer that you partner with more or maybe get better discounts on like building cars and deals with, or do you kind of work with all the manufacturers for all the racing series that you participate in?
Yeah, we don't have one very specific manufacturer, but our number one supplier for parts would be MotorState. But we also have contracts and deals with companies all throughout the states, like SRI Performance, Left-Hander Chassis, like the big names. If they're a big name in oval track racing, we can get it. But yeah, our biggest supplier would be MotorState, and we can get MotorState stuff next day, as long as they have stock. But yeah, that's yeah.
What are, for Dave here, what are, speaking towards challenges, what have been some of the challenges you and the team have been facing, the people that you work with, face in developing and engineering a new car? I know Ryan Dyson. Hey, Ryan. If you're not following on YouTube, you better. I hear there's some new features on a car like that. How does that work? What's a challenge to pushing the performance of these cars?
Well, to be honest, the challenge for a lot of years was just getting the proper people in place and the right team assembled. It started off, like I said, as me in my garage, and then we've moved into to 3 employees, 5 employees, 10 employees, and it's kind of kept growing. And we're just really fortunate right now. We have a really good group of guys, so it gives, as Jamie taking over a role that I used to do as well. That took away from me being out, designing, thinking, making cars faster. So now with Jamie looking after, helping me with all that stuff, and he's been a great addition. That's me be out in the shop floor, doing setups, working on cars, redesigning, just things along the way. So that was the biggest challenge along the way, was just getting the right people in place. And now, like I say, we got a really good team, and the shop is rocking and rolling really good.
Well, okay. I'll continue on with some questions. Where does that come from for you? So I get that interest in digging into the technicality, looking at something, being like, hey, I wonder if we just move this, adjust this. Like it's a constant search for perfect balance, right, on the racetrack. That's all we're looking for, right? You're looking for perfection, which is unattainable. So, like, where does that come from for you? Have you always just been an inquisitive person? You just have that engineering mind? Like, why do you want to make the car go faster? What compels you to make the car go faster?
Well, I really like to win, so
That's a good motivator.
That's the big one. But winning races on Sunday sells cars on Monday, so that's a big part of it too. So we want our product to perform and show how we build the fastest cars out there. So it needs to perform. So we like to do that. And then just the drive to always find the next. I lay in bed every night thinking about, I wonder if this control arm went like this, if I shorten like this, and also working with great teams, like the teams we deal with and work with are all the best in Canada. So working with them and helping them get better, and these are smart people too, so they're making gains. So it's just that urge to keep digging every morning.
So just to add to what David was saying there, so it seems like part of my role has become making sure when David does have a terrific idea that we stay within the rule book, because we have to build really fast cars that are legal.
A rule book, yes.
Technicalities.
Several times a week, maybe even a day, I'll get a message or a yell over from David and say, hey, Jamie, check the rule book for this. I got this idea. So just to add to that, we got to make sure that we're staying within the rules, but David has all these ideas, and that's become part of my role now, to make sure that I'm checking the rule book to say, yeah, we can do that, or no, we can't quite do that.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so saying obviously, love winning, such motivation. What would you say with all the teams that you've partnered with throughout the years is like your defining moment where it's like, okay, I know that White Motorsports, we have reached where we wanted to get to, or have you even gotten to that point yet?
Well, we're always striving to be better. We've won, fortunate enough, we've won racing in every series there is in Canada, and championships along the way. But I would say one for me that was a real feather in our hat and was very prideful was 2 years ago we went with Brandon Watson and Trayton Lapsovich to the Snowball Derby, and both cars made the races. So that was made the Snowball Derby and a Snowflake. So that's at that point we never had been. It was all new to us. So it was a dream just to make the race. That was really a prideful moment for us.
Cool.
Yeah, and then this year was one where it was really prideful to me, where we built a brand new car for Trayton. Didn't have a lap on the car; it was brand new, and then went down to Snowball Derby. It was in top 5 or leading every practice session, and it was turning heads everywhere. Everybody was looking at the car and couldn't believe these guys from Canada come down here, because these guys have been literally. There's people testing for the Snowball Derby right now for next year, and
Wow.
So for us to go down there and put on a good face and have speed every time out, and have speed in qualifying, have speed in the race. I coulda, shoulda, wouldas, but if wrecks hadn't happened, had a chance at winning that race. So that was real special
Racing.
for me.
Call that racing.
Yeah.
Big time. You have that in big time motorsports, right? Well, Dave and Jamie, thank you so much for coming on stage and sharing with our listeners and viewers and the people around here a little bit more about what WMI does, and a little bit more about the racing industry. That's one of the reasons we had Dan on and you guys on. There's a whole lot that happens that nobody sees or understands, me included.
Well, thank you guys, and thanks for everything you guys do for
Thank
the
you,
sport.
guys.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dave White and Jamie Dyson, White Motorsports.
Wow, that was awesome being able to speak to some of the industry insiders there this episode. Yesterday, we had more of a driver's-oriented episode, and then today we're kind of looking into what goes behind how these guys find success across motorsports.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have just different perspectives, right? You get a media or unofficial or fake news media perspective from us. You get racing industry perspectives. Driver's perspective, like pro driver perspective. minus Ryan. And just kidding, Ryan.
Oh, by the way, we are on. We have in addition to our Epic Racewear announcement, one of our first partnerships. We're also on his car.
Yeah, we got 2
On Ryan Dyson's
decals,
car.
and Ryan was kind enough to put it on the car. So this is our first race car that we're on.
Yeah, we this event, Motorama, has been so helpful to podcasters, and especially, I'm sure all these other people in the booths and vendors, they will probably agree with that. This is one of the most helpful things for them, outreach events for the year. Let's talk about some of our memories here of 2024 Motorama.
I remember it like yesterday.
Yeah, I've learned that in the 5 years since the last time I did a pit stop challenge that I have not improved. So I guess I need to look into that.
Yeah, we're going to try to head over to that NTN bearings tent there and get that time. You were like 61 seconds or something like that.
Well, I
was
would have been
around there.
fine if I gotten
Didn't
the
get-
lugs undone. Like I didn't have an issue with like the nuts coming off or other things. So yeah, we both struggled a little bit.
Yeah, the only one that didn't struggle was Brandon Feeney of the Feeney
Oh,
Call.
Feeney smoked
But it's
us.
not fair because he has to change his own tires
right,
on
yeah.
the race car. So it was rigged.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing this going on 8 seasons now. We've been able to have some fun the last couple of years, and this is definitely one of the highlights for us as a podcast.
Yeah, you could say Motorama is like the unofficial, official preseason
official.
game, like
I'm
just the
changing that.
start of the
Spring
racing
training.
season in the spring training here in the Northeast. So yeah, it's been wonderful to experience it and to really, because like for myself, I wouldn't get going with racing until May. There might be a couple like demolition derbies or whatever. I would to shake some rust off, locally for photography or whatnot. But just to get here and to speak with all these people that I've never met and to meet a lot of people in person. Yeah.
Me and you were used to being somewhere on the track taking photos, dangerously close to race cars, and Wally, he's running around recording. We all try to speak to the race car drivers
Getting in
as
the
much
way,
as we can,
basically.
and having a blast with a lot of the people that we know. Some of our group, like guys like Wade and some of the drivers that we're getting relationships with, like Sam Fellows and Kyle Steckley. These are all connections that we're building, and it's meant a lot, especially here at Motorama, and the recognition of the Boneyard Podcast Corner, being able to put podcasters literally on stage for everyone here at Motorama. People that have been paying some good money to come here, coming far away. People of all kinds. It's great to see. No matter what you dress as, where you come from, or what you raise, where you pretend to be, you are welcome on the wide world of motorsports. We are just about to wrap up this edition of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast. We come to you on the FM dial every Saturday out east in St. John, New Brunswick. Not that we're from New Brunswick, but we broadcast there.
If it helps our viewership, we're from New Brunswick.
Yeah, from CFMH 107.3 local FM. You can check them out. The Performance Motorsports Network app on your smart device, or on demand wherever you get your podcasts, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And also check us out on social media at the WWMS with all the updates from the track to your community. We're getting ready for some Canadian race in the next couple months, so we're going to be at the track for you. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for this edition. I am James Jordan.
Mike Wallace.
And the American, Damon Sawyer.
That's just the facts. We'll see y'all around the bend.
Adios.
Peace.